Drama. Action. Comedy. Palace intrigue. Story Squad presents Clash of the Pencils. Welcome everybody to another wild night here at Clash of the Pencils Stadium, I guess, studio analysis. Welcome back to the nightly live stream. I'm your host, Tom Sherman. This is the most watched creative writing eSport League live stream in the history of the internet. So you are among privileged eyeballs watching this stream. We're here as we are every weeknight to review the top 3 short story submissions from around the net, get the latest scores, see who's atop the leaderboard, and of course review the top 5 sentences of the night. So a quick reminder for all the folks out there how to play. Each night we end our live stream with a new prompt for authors to write on the next day. Then all you have to do is handwrite a quick one-page story in response to that prompt, snap a pic, upload it, and then boom, you're in the game. Every day we field anywhere from 0s to 10s of submissions, which then get run through a high-tech data science algorithm known as Storybot 3000, which uses, among other things, that feeling you get before vomiting to analyze every story. We then take Storybot's top 3 picks and let you, the public, vote to determine tonight's winner. Alongside me today, we've got Greg, the hind leg Peterson. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving break and you got a lot of reading done.
Certainly, said Frodo, but his heart sank. He wondered how many private talks he would have to have before he got to bed and what they would reveal. Were these people all in league against him? He began to suspect even old Butterbeer's fat face of concealing dark designs. Oh, hey, Tom.
Well, I can relate because Butterface, come on. Or what was his name? Was his name Butterface?
Butterbeer.
Butterbeer. Yeah. I mean, come on. That guy every time. Anyways, but before we get underway, let's remind all the folks out there what everyone's playing for tonight. Besides, of course, Fame and Glory, that's one of these, an exclusive IOU NFT. This unique 1 out of 10,000 NFT is actually an IOU for a future NFT from an upcoming drop from Story Squad. And although the current estimated cash value of the IOU NFT is $100 US, that's not the full value of NFTs. Think of NFTs like keys to the future. Right now, as humans, we interact with businesses and organizations much like ants might their queen, slaving away day in and day out for resources to give to the queen so that she may survive. NFTs turn this one-directional relationship into a community partnership. Owning NFTs of organizations will allow those owners special perks like early access to future products, exclusive content behind paywalls, and access to the inner community. Not only that, but NFTs are transferable, allowing owners to sell at a premium, which in turn appreciate all other NFTs held by community members. So NFTs are part art, part online identity, part admission to a virtual country club, part crypto speculation, part generational wealth, and all real, baby. Speaking of all real, these NFTs, those NFTs are people winning for to turn in later for the NFTs that we're making from Story Squad.
Yeah, the IOU for the other one, for the non-fungible token that is sort of, yeah.
Not talking about the IOUs, talking about the real ones.
The real NFT.
Wow. We just saw another sneak preview of another one of these NFTs that's coming out. And I mean, every time I think it can't get any better, it does.
It's wind at our sails. Every day I'm like, lol,
goodness.
we get a hot new one from the artist Kyla, and then bang. It's amazing. They look phenomenal.
It's like clockwork, folks. She is cranking them out as fast as you can say Holy moly, shishkamboli.
Yeah. As
Yeah.
fast as the human hand can illustrate.
Yeah, maybe faster. I don't know.
Maybe.
She might, she might have some superhuman abilities. I'm not sure. But that's neither here nor there because
we do have
this
somebody
isn't.
who has superhuman abilities, Tom. Let me do the transition. We have
Yeah.
somebody who has superhuman abilities. Who is that?
Storybot.
It's Storybot.
Oh, Storybot. All right. Yeah. I was like, I don't know. Yes, you're right. Storybot 3000 because he is a robot. So let's see. This is what we're doing with Storybot today. Is first off, no one on the leaderboard because obviously it's first day of the Gregorian calendar week. But here's the writing prompt that our superhuman robot Storybot 3000 wanted our authors to write today. Use the following words in a story: activate, acceptable, and fragrant. Interesting word combo here. When we left off last week, you said you would do a sort of a slow drip of releasing these words one at a time. Is that still where you're laying on this egg?
I don't know. I'm giving the old frazzle dazzle. I don't know. I think what's interesting is Fragrant's going to draw you into the scene with some old factory sensory descriptions. Activate is a very active verb, so there'll hopefully be some action. Acceptable gives a little bit of character, a little bit of moral complexion. So I think it's already kind of orienting on that triangle.
Interesting stuff. Great analysis as always here from the old frazzle dazzle. But we've got 3 competitors in the top 3 today, and 2 we know. 1 is a new person coming in with a fresh new story. So let's start there, see if they can set the pace. This comes from Slam. Each year, it gets harder and harder to truly know what will be deemed as acceptable. When did it all become so binary? In between unacceptable and acceptable is an expansive field of outcomes, a multitude of potentialities. Only a decade ago, my first entry netted a satisfactory. Other entries in that same heat were awarded decent, suitable, peachy, tolerable. This year's crop produced 437 acceptables and countless failures. No one beyond the judges' table believes that it's so cut and dry. That first entry was one I'll never forget. In the floral game, they call your first your spark flower, the plant that roped you into the unforgiving world of show flowers. For me, it all started with and ended with a single purple peony. I was out on a hike, minding my own business, when my toe caught a divot. My body lurched forward, while my feet lagged forebodingly behind. My hands grasped for any available purchase, but found none of comfort, and instead buried into the sodden dirt below. This was by no means ideal. My palms were cut up, and soil caked inside my fingernails like black French tips. I hardly noticed. I was face to face with a small fist of purple, a fragrant something I'd later identify as a peony. The extensive petals, like an intricate stereogram poster, mesmerized both man and insect. I clipped the base of the stem of the flower with my pocket knife, placed the plant in my front shirt pocket with care, dusted myself off, and went on my way. I entered the flower into the big show the next day in the amateur heat. The rest is history. Unfortunately, we're long past the days in which a college kid can stumble upon such beauty and share it with the world. Pros spend all year perfecting their specimens in labs. They activate specific genes to help it pop. Even amateurs require sponsors. No easy feat. Will an amateur ever win any dignified merits again? It seems unlikely, and that's unacceptable. So a competitive flower grower wonders what acceptable means and recalls their spark flower, a peony found on a hike, and now laments a similarly situated college kid would be unable to crack into the cutthroat world of competitive flower growing and showing, which in and of itself is unacceptable.
Wow. I guess you can, if Clash of the Pencils has proven anything, you can gamify anything, and that includes story writing as well as show flowers. Interesting meditation that this opens on. We start with the bookends. We get acceptable and unacceptable as the key sort of linchpin words to bring us into the world and then out of the world. I was a little. It took me a little while to orient. When we said this year's crop and the judges table, that was the first moment I had actually a glimpse of setting before we get kind of this voice-driven meditation on sort of the binariness of acceptable versus unacceptable. And it's clearly there's a standard being raised. We get peachy, tolerable, decent. There's this expansive kind of gray area. And it seems to me that what the acceptable is in the eye of the judges and what is excellent. It seems in show flowers and any sort of competition, there's always going to be winners and losers, right? And it's kind of bemoaning the fact that in order to get ahead, you have to be so specialized and get to that threshold of acceptable, where acceptable is, I don't know, I'm sort of rambling here, but it feels like they're bemoaning the fact that you can't just enjoy flowers. You got to show them and you got to try to win. And that will to win, it seemed like there was a little tragic undertone to this. The amateurs require sponsors.
Right.
That was interesting.
Well, I think I'm right there with you, and what it read to me was like it used to be 10 years ago or whatever. Whenever this person started competitive show flowering, there was that gray area and the beauty in the eye of the beholder, and then now it seems like it's more of the rigid acceptable and unacceptable, and then the shoveling everything into those two categories is what has created this need to be so specialized and get yourself into this penultimate category of acceptability when and then that's what boxes everybody else out. That's just a random person on a hike find the flower that they enjoy, and it moves them so much they investigate it to find out what it is, and then all of a sudden a few days later you're in the professional flower showing or amateur flower showing show. So yeah, I definitely got that sort of nostalgia that so let's clue everybody in here what we're doing here with this triangle. This is called the Sussex County S'more, where we drop 3 marshmallows in the middle of a nacho cheesy Dorito-like chip, and then eat the rich, satisfactory treat that is left over. So our 3 marshmallows are characters, plot, and setting. So I kind of felt this character. I was able to relate, a bit to like finding a passion that is, unexpected, as well as then getting into it and then becoming disillusioned by, it's not about passion anymore once you're taking it into a lab and making specific genes pop and having to go out and get sponsorships. That loss of innocence.
Unforgiving world of show flowers, Tom. What do you expect?
Right? It's not cut and dry. That was a great little pun there too.
That was great. That was great. I would say character. There was no dialogue for me. There were no other characters. We get this vague thing about the judges, and we get vague kind of things. But I do think like a story is a function of conflict between characters. I wanted more, rather than just being a snapshot of the industry. I wanted more actual action. A competitor or a rival would have gone a long way for me. That would have also helped draw the plot a little bit further into this. I thought the setting, I did understand the setting. I mean, I was kind of, it was like like Westminster Kennel Club, but for flowers. I was definitely seeing AstroTurf on the ground of these conventions.
And a great description of that hike and the falling and the flailing. It was really well imagerized. But yeah,
I feel like what the plot, the meditation, the philosophical sort of meditation here got in the way of the plot. We didn't get enough action. We didn't get enough, like, I couldn't imagine this being in comic book form. And maybe that was sort of resisting the expectations of what's expected. It was sort of meandering in its ambiguity and its subjective kind of ness, and not trying to take into something. But it didn't. It seemed like an essay. It didn't seem like a story.
It just a couple of few sentences here and there, a couple couple descriptors, couple characters added in, and it would have been a tight triangle here. Tough to do, make those tight concentric triangles. But great start by Slam for the week, setting the pace here for the rest of our competitors tonight. So let's see, going from Slam, now we're heading into Slice. So let's see what Slice has to say in response to this prompt. In 2006, Manone bought a bookstore in Annapolis, USA. He was 30 at the time, and his life had become swollen with meaning. He saw it everywhere. His bookstore was hip. Pay what you can, returns if you want, free sample scones, coffee, and online journals. He even had an underground layer wherein he printed his newsletter on a 100-year-old press. It took years for Manone's meaningful life to cause a cavity. In 2021, he threw it all away. He sold the store to an eager buyer for $0. What he wanted in return is to live rent-free in his lair and have access to water, coffee, and pastries when the store was closed. He even threw in the printing press. The terms were more than acceptable to the buyer, and for months Manone lived alone in the lair in a way which no meaning could be derived. He showed a fragrant disregard for hygiene. He often ate crickets and rats instead of hunting for pound cake and muffins. He lit unscented tea-light candles and watched shadows move on the wall. In the event this scene activated some memory or waves started swelling, he extinguished the flame to restart. One night, the husband of the buyer entered the store to deliver some shelving and saw a figure slink through a crawl space that he'd been informed was never used. He raised concern with his wife. After hours of early morning discussion at home, she divulged the former owner lived in a subterranean lair inside the bookstore in exchange for ownership. This struck the husband as odd, and he needed to know why Manone made this deal. He went to the entrance of the lair next morning and thudded. Nothing. He tried the same thing for the next few days before publishing the story to social media, which drew crowds to the store to knock on the lair and seek explanation from Manone. Unrest swelled weeks later, and one night, agitators lit the bookstore on fire to flush out Manone and find out why he lived that way. Smoke filled the lair, and fire cast shadows on the wall that Manone couldn't put out. He died for a reason. All right, so I'm trying to put this together. In 2006, Manone had a meaningful life, 30 years old, bookstore proprietor of a very hip joint, and yet 15 short years later, life becomes meaningless, decides to sell the store to become a hermit living rent-free under the bookstore in a lair, lives alone there in a meaningless life for a while, watching flames flickering on the wall until the husband of the buyer discovers him, has a long discussion with his wife, and cannot accept the deal, or just needs to understand why it happened. But Manone never never coming out. And so then he creates a social media, the husband creates a social media firestorm, and that literally becomes a firestorm and kills Manone in a meaningful way.
Oh, Slice, you've done it again. I love this Phantom of the Opera of the bookstore, sort of subterranean, unknowable. The fact that the character's name is Menone is sort of to himself. We kind of get this this very private reclusion through literature. I was really interested in what 30-year-old can buy a bookstore. It's running through the economics of it. It became a kind of pay what you can fantasy commune. that seemed cool and hip. I'm surprised, given the economics, that it was able to last for as long as it did, for 15 years and actually be resellable. There was there were some great elements here. The 100-year-old press seems like it was a real thing, as opposed to the social media frenzy. There was a kind of fantasy of going back to something that actually had mechanical value. I was interested also in trading off the kind of, I don't know, pleasant little knickknacks like the candle or the scones, all the accoutrements of, I don't know, premium mediocre life that seems to be what we all sell out for. And he kind of gave those up with the and it took on a fragrant disregard for hygiene, bonus points for the clever inversion of using that word, and just started staring at a wall, sort of an allusion to Plato's cave, where ultimately we can't know what it stated very definitively and defiantly. No meaning could be derived to an outsider.
Right.
But I think
let's dig into that.
Manon
I feel
was
like there's some meaning in there.
Manon was fully absorbed. I think Manon was very content, and only when he resisted the urge to articulate why he lived that way, and sort of the pressures of this swarm of social surveillance that ultimately led into this, I don't know, conflagration, an outing of this character. His life took on meaning certainly from resisting the urge to divulge, to take some secret, to some private life, to sort of reclaim that private life and not have to express or articulate it in highly truncated and imitative kinds of social medium. I don't know. What do you got?
Yeah. No, I mean, you've definitely picked it cleaner than I did in my notes. There was definitely something interesting there of like 2006 to 2021. Because like 2006 is like right before smartphone technology, right? Really killed, Amazon really killed the bookstore, the local, and so it's like, there's just an interesting sort of start there of like this life is so meaningful right at this peak time, and then within 15 short years, are bookstores even a thing? I mean, obviously they are, but not at the same, status as they were back then. So
it seems to me like my brain's kind of racking itself. It seems to me that this is about actually getting meaning by refusing to use language, which is an interesting kind of inversion, because what it's saying by implication is that this proliferation of all this hollow dead language, this, copy pasta stuff that we're all just is entering our brains all the time. There's no meaning there. It's just a bunch of empty chatter. And actually retiring from it, resisting it, drawing inwards, that's the only thing where meaning is left. And actually it's ineffable. It can't be expressed. What that is. And it's something that it's interesting that this happens in the caverns of a bookstore. It's interesting that presumably this guy Manon, and that's me known, right?
Is that French? I don't know.
I'm just saying me and known, right?
Me known. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm with it. I
don't know.
It's
man. He's giving us a lot. Giving us a lot.
Again, it's just great that I think that was another great irony just throughout the whole text, where it's like this is all meaningless, and yet we can get in there and derive so much meaning from everything.
I want to see it as an opera. I want to see it as a musical. Give it the Andrew Lloyd Webber treatment.
Give it the old one skidoo, and let's see it up on Broadway. Speaking of getting up on Broadway, I don't know if that's a good transition or not, but our next author, Raconteuse, won a stunning victory of the day and the week on Friday last week. So now they are still here, still up in the top 3. So let's see what they have to offer on this prompt. The girls sat in their rockers, slippered feet tapping the aged wood of the porch. Wonder Twin powers, activate, they used to say. A line from an old TV show. The words, a charm to keep them safe as they bounded from adventure to adventure, barely stopping to check the damage in their childhood wake. Betsy chuckled softly, head resting on the chair's high back, breathing in deeply the fragrant magnolia. They were a pair, weren't they? Cousins, born a few months apart, grew up next door to each other, destined to partner from day one. Joined always for the special and the mundane, she reached over to pat her cousin's freckled hand. "Judy," she said, "have we ever seen a sunset like this?" Judy shook her head, still in her own reverie. The transition from day to night was a magic time. Today seemed more magic than most. Judy knew they could both feel it. Betsy and Judy, Judy and Betsy, had seen 90 years together. The kids had all come to visit today. Betsy and Judy, Judy and Betsy, always had visitors. Everyone was welcome at the gabled house on Maple Street. It was funny to have them all there at the same time. Guess they all knew too. The kids left the house, single file, as they said goodbye. Sarah was the last in line. She set Betsy and Judy, Judy and Betsy, up in their rockers on the porch and laid the crocheted blankets on their laps. Matching blankets, of course, for the Wonder Twins. They knew Sarah would come back later to check on them. She always did, after an acceptable time. "Wonder Twin powers, activate." They whispered the words again, a talisman to protect them as they bounded into the next adventure. All right, so two women, best friends for 90 years, watch a sunset together on the porch as all the kids visit for the day. And, you know, that's about as far as I could get in my play-by-play analysis here.
I love the descriptions. I mean, show versus tell, right? The descriptions drew you in immediately. The slippered feet tapping the withered wood. I mean, it had a lyricism to it. And we get this really kind of cool tension between the nostalgic of this kind of kid superhero. I don't know. I got a Captain Planet vibe myself with the Wonder Twins activate, right? But then at the same time, it's these like geriatric old people just taking in a sunset. And so there was trying to orient around that. I thought was really sweet. I thought it was nostalgic. I liked the setting was very, very realized to me. The characters also strong. We get Betsy and Judy, Judy and Betsy. That was the plot. We get some sort of gestures towards plot, but I don't feel like they were. I think just sort of staying alive and remembering is heroic. Somehow heroic here.
Right.
I don't know. What do you make of this?
So yeah, I think the like there was something there missing in the mix here where I felt like there was a plot, right? Because all the kids show up, strange, they don't always show up at the same time. So like, what is that? Is that a birthday? Is that Thanksgiving? Is that, just a random day? So there was definitely some sort of lacking, like not knowing that really, it made me wonder why, and it could have been a plot driver, but it wasn't, you know what I mean? So like that was my main drawback reading through this. But otherwise, yeah, I thought it was a great scene about watching, like I sort of watched a scene like this at Thanksgiving, right? It wasn't over a porch, but it was a couple old people sitting in front of the TV, with the mute sound on, watching football and just kind of listening to all the rest of us in the background, chatter and just enjoying being in the presence of this younger energy, while they were able to reflect and be nostalgic in their own way. So
like the younger energy brought about their younger energy, even
right?
The mental kind of imaginary experience. That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I liked the sort of intergenerational sort of ability to sort of empathize, or they contextualized childhood to things they knew, but they were still able to access it even as they were, slippered feet.
Yeah. Exactly.
It was very snug. It was very cozy. It was
super cozy. I mean, I would love to be on porch smelling some magnolias with Judy and Betsy, most definitely. And that's what it was, right? That's, if you look at the Sussex County s'more here, it's the setting that really Raconteuse really nailed it with setting that scene up, and that's possibly why they were able to make it to the top 3 here on such a strong setting. But I mean, this is all pointless, right?
Right. This is just a bunch of.
This is just you and me having fun. That's all that is.
2 folks on the internet saying whatever comes into their head.
Yeah, this is basically what Judy and Betsy would do, right?
Betsy and Judy and Betsy.
Yeah. So what really matters is you, the public out here, and what you guys thought on the situation. So let's refresh the scoreboard and bring it up. And because I mean, no one really cares about our opinions, Greg. I hate to break it to you. I know that they should, and they will one day. But really, this is what it's all about. It's about the votes. And what do we got here? Slice on top, 165 points, followed by Slam with 140. Raconteuse coming in third with the 115. Repeat coming in fourth with 60. K-Stew has 43, and then Champion running in sixth with 15. Interesting stuff here. Way to start the week. Interesting way to start the week. No one's out of it yet, though. I mean, as well as anybody, it's a long week, and it's going to be the people that end up with 5s in all of these categories that are going to be in the top. So
5 stories submitted. Shout out to Slam for a strong opening salvo. Strong entrance into the deep end of Clash of the Pencils.
Slice still has a target on his back, and obviously Raconteuse a target on hers after taking the last week. So Slam right in the mix, might be able to take it down for the count. So, all right. One last thing. You ready for the last thing before
I'm ready. Let's
get
do
this
it.
going? Top 5 sentences of the day. Number 5 from Blink. Finish high school, graduate top of her class, get into MIT, and flee this one-horse town. Little did she know the queasiness she was feeling was not due to Miss Mason's misdeeds, but her own. An interesting story there from Blink, although disqualified because it was not handwritten. So, yeah, unfortunate. Same with Lavateur. Let's go get a sandwich and some better tools and tackle this later, better prepared. A story about a couple of people trying to clear out a storage unit that had a really smelly box. And unfortunately, also not handwritten. So there's only one way to get into the top 3, and that's writing it down. Can't type it out because, I don't know why. Doesn't really matter why. Number 3 from Repeat. It had been an acceptable life, even a good life, in spite of her losing her husband 20 years ago and never having children. Just an interesting sort of musing there about an acceptable life, about Mrs. McGinty and an Irish lass.
Acceptable really calls into question everyone's existence tonight.
Number 2 from Slice. He showed a fragrant disregard for hygiene.
Favorite line when I heard it.
Great line. Little play on words there with like flagrant disregard, disregard.
Flagrant disregard.
You're living down in a lair under a bookstore. You got to be smelly eating those rats and crickets. But number 1 coming from Slam in the floral game. They call your first your spark flower, the plant that roped you into the unforgiving world of show flowers.
Yeah.
A lot of information packed in there,
Super memorable. The spark flower, the unforgiving world of show flowers. Love it. Love this whole world that Slam built.
It's got the plot, it's got the setting, and it's got the character all in there. And that's how you win Clash of the Pencils, is getting enough of those all lined up. So there you go. All right. So that's it. That wraps up another round of the Clash of the Pencils nightly live stream. Join us tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. for a Word Hoax public tournament. Another round of that, another NFT going out. And then, of course, same time, same place. Catch us here for the nightly live stream. So until next time. Oh, wait, hold on. We have to look at the, sorry. We have to look at the prompt. What am I doing?
What's Storybot throwing our way?
Storybot is getting a little crazy. Cats have overtaken the world. What do they do with the humans? Write a story that explores this new perspective.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Storybot's getting alarmingly sentient with these puns.
Storybot is loving puns right now. Didn't see that one coming. So, yeah, there you go. Where would you go with this prompt here, Greg?
I would love to see Randall Cobb get back in the game with Mr. Whiskers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. Mr. Whiskers, the devilish cat that tries to control the weather and killed the dinosaurs. If he ever takes over the world,
that
I do not want
perspective is terrifying.
Wow, let's see if Green 18 can crack in there and see what's going on tomorrow. So, all right, now I can try to sign off for the second time tonight. I think we've hit everything, right?
Yeah.
All right. All right, so there you have it, folks. That wraps up another edition of the Clash of the Pencils nightly live stream. And until next time, we'll see you folks out on the paper. Did your favorite story of the night win? It didn't? That's weird. Did you vote? You didn't? Huh. I wonder if that could be related. Anyone can vote. You don't need a Clash of the Pencils account. Just head over to clash.storysquad.app. The link's in the description. Any Monday to Friday in the 2 hours before the live stream starts. Read the top 3 picks from Storybot 3000 and make your voice heard on who should win the NFT. Be a good citizen. Help overthrow the powers that be by voting, specifically in the Clash of the Pencils app every night.